Welcome. Today, we're discussing the importance of complete and green streets policies. These policies are essential for improving our transportation system and ensuring that all users can navigate our streets safely. All right, I would like to introduce you to today's speakers. My name is Elise Brebernay. I am the New Jersey Bicycle and Pedestrian Coordinator within the Bureau of Safety, Bicycle and Pedestrian Programs. That's at the New Jersey Department of Transportation. Today we'll be hearing from Leanne Von Hagen and James Sinclair from the New Jersey DOT Bicycle and Pedestrian Resource Center at Rutgers University's Voorhees Transportation Center. We will also hear from Peter Bilton, who's Manager for Sustainable Transportation Planning Programs at the North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority. The U.S. Department of Transportation is dedicated to dramatically reducing serious and fatal injuries on our roadways. Achieving zero traffic deaths demands a cultural shift that views these injuries as both preventable and unacceptable. The New Jersey Department of Transportation, in its Strategic Highway Safety Plan, shares this vision, striving for zero deaths on all public roads. I'm now going to turn things over to Leanne Von Hagen from NJDOT's Bike Ped Resource Center.
Thank you, Elise. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to begin the presentation with an important question on how can we achieve zero deaths on our roads. So doing so involves implementing effective strategies and policies that prioritize safety for all users, including complete streets. Today's presentation will include information about adopting complete and green streets policies and how complete streets are part of a larger transportation and safety initiatives. One of the more recent developments in transportation safety includes three elements: zero death initiatives, the safe system approach, and complete streets and safe routes to school. This diagram illustrates how these elements interconnect. Zero death initiatives is a goal where no deaths or serious injuries is acceptable on our roads. FHWA's safe system approach provides a strategic framework and assessments that prioritize the safety of all road users, especially vulnerable ones like pedestrians and bicyclists, aiming to eliminate fatalities and severe injuries. Complete streets and safe routes to school are both initiatives that offer practical methods to achieve zero deaths. Complete streets policies focus on designing roads that accommodate all users safely. Safe routes to school implements programs that target safety for vulnerable road users like children. Complete Streets initiatives support the zero death goal by aligning with elements of the safe system approach framework, ensuring all roads are safe and accessible for everyone. All right, let's dive in. I have three takeaways. Okay, so the first takeaway I'd like to talk to today is create a vision. Let's compare our traditional approaches to road safety with our modern perspectives. Where we used to treat some level of traffic fatalities as inevitable, we now understand the importance of treating those deaths are not only preventable, but unacceptable. Where we used to insist that perfect human behavior was necessary for safe outcomes, we now understand the importance of not only acknowledging that humans have failings, but designing to mitigate for them. Where we used to focus blame on victims as the cause of crashes, we now acknowledge the importance of taking a holistic view that requires people to think about the roadway environment in its entirety, from the design of our infrastructure to the land use decisions of our governments. Instead of just asking, why did that person crash? The new approach examines, why was that person so seriously injured in that crash? This change in focus from collision reduction to injury prevention represents a significant shift from an engineering enforcement view to one that includes a public health perspective. A public health approach is particularly relevant given the high pedestrian and bicyclist fatalities. In New Jersey, our fatalities exceed national averages, highlighting the urgent need for effective policies and infrastructure. Creating a vision for zero traffic deaths underscores that every life matters. It sets a clear, non-negotiable goal of zero fatalities and serious injuries. Moreover, a target for zero deaths drives innovation, accountability, and a proactive approach to safety. I highly recommend you watch and share New Jersey DOT's video about why it's important to aim to achieve zero deaths. That leads us to takeaway number 2. adopt complete and green streets policies. What do we mean by complete streets? Complete streets are designed for everyone. By everyone, we mean all roadway users and all travel modes, including pedestrians, bicyclists, and transit users, and travelers of all ages and abilities. Complete Streets brings pedestrians and other road users into the conversation about how streets are designed. Roadway design is no longer solely about moving as many cars and trucks as fast as possible through our communities. It's now more about what is happening in our communities and why it's not just about safety. Complete Streets addresses health, environment, economic vitality, and equity. Implementing Complete Streets often asks two questions. Who are you accommodating? How will you accommodate them safely and comfortably? Complete Streets are safer not only for non-motorized transportation, but also for motor vehicle drivers. New Jersey has made significant strides in adopting Complete Streets policies. As of today, we have 1 state policy, 8 county policies, and 181 municipal policies. These jurisdictions cover more than half of the state's population. All of these policies can be found on our website at njbikeped.org. In many ways, New Jersey is a success story for Complete Streets policies. However, the quality of these policies varies widely, revealing that not all Complete Streets policies are created equal. After many municipalities adopted policies between 2009 and 2017, we started to ask ourselves, are these policies being implemented? In 2017, we looked back at the policies that had been passed and we found several issues with transparency and accountability. Many times the original language broadly allowed for exemptions by using language like when possible or if practical. A lack of written documentation or public involvement has made it hard to know if accommodating all users was fully considered. Not having benchmarks in many cases has also made it difficult to track progress and ensure implementation was happening. And in some cases, we found examples of resolutions that probably didn't really qualify as a policy at all. To address these challenges, the New Jersey Complete Streets Working Group, led by the Tri-State Transportation Campaign and AARP, was established in 2012 to support municipalities in developing effective and consistent Complete Streets policies. This group of experts started looking into which municipalities were effectively moving forward with implementations and which were running into difficulties. The group compared policy language and resolutions that had extras like checklists. Members also spoke with elected officials, champions, and other stakeholders to identify the barriers. Based on this analysis, the group developed a good understanding of what was working and what wasn't, which resulted in answering the question, what is an effective Complete and Green Streets policy? The language matters. Stronger policies are needed. The way I like to explain it is there are resolutions, which are official statements of support using typical whereas statements. Then there's policies, which is the process and actions designed to ensure that Complete Streets are routinely considered in all transportation decisions. Often this can include the use of checklists. However, the gold standard is adopting an ordinance, which is law that can be enforced and becomes part of a searchable record of municipal laws. What resulted was a guide that provides model language for Complete Streets policies and propels New Jersey into the next decade of working to make our streets accessible for all. This guide gives model language for resolutions with policies that better addresses implementations and way to adopt ordinances. Even more importantly, when the Complete Streets Working Group presented the draft model policy language to New Jersey DOT, they embraced it as a model and crafted the full guide to help municipalities adopt effective policies. In addition, the group also saw the opportunity to not only enhance mobility and safety, but also contribute to a resilient urban environments that better manage stormwater and improve quality of life. We also understood that effective policies are not just adopted, but implemented systematically. This guide provides customizable Microsoft Word versions of the model policy resolution and checklist available on New Jersey DOT's website. The Word docs that are on New Jersey DOT's website will give you a fill-in-the-blank approach where you can customize and insert the information that best fits your municipality. Next, I will walk through some policy language highlights. Okay, let's start with public health. and safety. We work closely with our health partners like the American Heart Association on health language. For example, in addressing public health and safety, we included, whereas traffic crashes are preventable and the only acceptable number of traffic deaths for my town is 0. Next up, some green streets. Here's some of our model language. Whereas complete streets that incorporate sustainable green streets design elements such as green stormwater infrastructure, traffic calming treatments, street trees, and the use of recycled materials, protect and create a healthier, natural, and social environment, improve air quality and water quality, and reduce localized flooding. Stormwater management is a vital aspect of our model policy. Because of limited time today, we'll cover more about green streets and stormwater management in our upcoming discussion at our next online session, our virtual open house on Wednesday, October 30th from 3 to 5 p.m. and more about that later. Well, I definitely want to talk a little bit more about equity. It's a crucial topic in transportation. It's important to ensure fair treatment and resource distribution for all communities. We developed language around equity that focuses on low and moderate income areas. This ensures that our policies address long-standing disparities. This language is lifted from our governor's executive order on environmental justice communities, and we had representation from the New Jersey Environmental Justice Alliance in our working group. Whereas, as low and moderate income areas, whether in rural, urban, or suburban communities, are typically the least safe for pedestrians and bicyclists, especially for children walking and bicycling to school, due to long-standing infrastructure disparities and higher concentration of streets with faster moving and higher volume traffic. And whereas procedures should be implemented that ensure fair treatment, equitable funding, and resource distribution, and meaningful involvement of all communities in all phases from selection, planning, and design to construction and long-term maintenance. So we wanted to ask the next question: how do I make sure the policy is implemented? To ensure accountability, we recommend establishing a complete streets advisory body or designating an existing committee oversight to address complete streets. The advisory committee will provide ongoing feedback and help comply with municipal policies. We include a recommended broad group of stakeholders that can include community members representing persons with disabilities, seniors, youth organizations, and persons representing overburdened communities, including low-income, minority, and limited English proficiency. Another way to incorporate accountability and transparency is to ensure consistency with and include complete streets in master plan and elements. We also list many benchmarks for evaluating progress. Some examples of benchmark include mileage of new bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure, number of new street trees, number of green streets and practices, and the number, locations, and causes of collisions, injuries, and fatalities by each mode of transportation. Finally, many of our towns adopt complete streets checklists based on checklists used by our State Department of Transportation. We enhanced the current model checklist to include green streets, equity considerations, and we created a new checklist for maintenance. Since the release of the Model Policy and Guide in 2020, we've had a lot of conversations about these checklists. Specifically, several towns have found these checklists to be especially useful, but why? Well, what they've told us is there are several reasons. One, they provide structure, especially during planning board development reviews. They serve as a tool to integrate multiple modes of transportation and keep details from falling through the cracks. They communicate expectations to developers for bicycle, pedestrian, and transit use, and provide a formal way to grant exemptions and specify which exemptions apply. And how are these municipalities using the checklist? Well, they're using them in several ways, but one of the main feedback we got is they're including these checklists in the package of content given to developers as part of planning board development processes. We've also had conversations about advisory committees. We understand not all municipalities have resources for yet another committee. However, many towns have traffic safety committees or other committees that could be enhanced to address complete streets. The following procedures can be established as duties of an advisory committee. Require developers to submit complete and green streets checklists with applications. Review checklists and provide feedback. Monitor project implementation. Review and advise on exemptions. Conduct an audit of municipal policies, plans, and programs for alignment with complete and green streets policy and prioritize updates. Set benchmarks and track progress with regular reports. Update ordinances and review procedures to support policy implementation, and pursue grant opportunities to support initiatives. So another question that comes up when we talk with towns about complete streets is, my municipality or county already has adopted a complete streets policy. Should it be updated? If so, what should I update? There are many ways to explore updates. Do you have a resolution but no actual policy outlining the framework for implementation? You could consider adding an official policy about implementation. Do you have a resolution but are looking for a little more teeth? Considering adopting the policy as an ordinance. Do you need a way to make sure development and redevelopment are maximizing opportunities for complete streets implementation? Add checklists to the development review processes. Now that we've worked with a few towns on adopting the model language, one of our next steps is finalizing a guide on how to adopt complete and green street ordinances. If you would like to review municipalities that have already adopted ordinances, we would recommend looking into Trenton, Eatontown, and Red Bank, and congratulations to those 3 towns and others that are in the process of adopting policies into ordinances. Another thing we've learned over the past few years is our model policy is a living document, meaning there are updates needed that are still in process. In January 2023, Governor Murphy signed a bill mandating New Jersey DOT to implement a complete street policies that enhances safety for people with autism and intellectual and developmental disabilities. The policy includes developing guidance to improve mobility options and integrating into transportation planning and projects. New model policy language is in development. The update focuses on enhancing safety for individuals of all abilities as part of the American with Disabilities Civil Rights laws. Another update in the model policy language includes addressing micromobility. Micromobility refers to compact, electric, and human-powered devices for short distance travel. This includes e-bikes and e-scooters. Incorporating micromobility into complete streets helps create inclusive, flexible, and sustainable transportation options that cater to diverse needs. Updates to the New Jersey Complete and Green Streets model policy are underway. We will post in our New Jersey Bicycle and Pedestrian and Safe Routes to School Resource Center newsletters and social media when updated policy language is available. Okay, one last thing. Sometimes complete streets policy adoptions is really not in the cards for your municipality. We understand. That doesn't mean you don't have a way forward. There are other ways to incorporate complete streets into your day-to-day activities. So, for example, you could look into incorporating complete streets principles into the municipality's master plan to ensure that long-term development aligns to create safer, more accessible streets for all users. This helps guide land use, transportation planning, and future projects to support active transportation. You could update internal standard operating procedures to prioritize complete streets in day-to-day operations. Ensure that all departments such as public works, planning, transportation, consistently apply complete streets principles like the checklist during project planning, design, and execution. Or you could look into developing or updating design guides to reflect complete street standards, ensuring that all new and renovated infrastructure projects are designed to accommodate all modes of transportation. These guidelines provide clear expectations for developers, engineers, and planners, helping to create safer, more inclusive streetscapes. These approaches embed complete streets principles into the fabric of municipal planning, ensuring that the commitment to safe, equitable transportation is upheld at every level of project development and implementation. Okay, I know this has been a lot of information. I encourage you to visit New Jersey DOT's website to download the model policy and guide. It is well worth the visit. Plus, One of the ways New Jersey DOT incentivizes policies is to give extra points on infrastructure grant applications for municipal applicants with complete streets policies that are adopted. So to download this guide and related documents, please visit the provided link. Okay, are you ready for takeaway number 3? Did you remember that I said at the beginning of the presentation I have 3 takeaways? Luckily, this takeaway is brief. To move closer to a future where road travel is safe for everyone, we need to encourage cross-sector and interdisciplinary cooperation and implement a comprehensive safety solutions. We see this borne out in FHWA's Safe System approach. The Federal Highway Administration Safe System approach sets an ethical imperative that no one should die or be seriously injured on roadways. Rather than focusing on changing human behavior and preventing all collisions, the Safe System approach refocuses transportation system design and operation on anticipating human errors and reducing impact forces to minimize crash severity and to save lives. By acknowledging these principles, the Safe System approach aims to achieve continual improvements in 5 system areas, and that's safe road users, safe vehicles, safe speeds, safe roads, and post-crash care. Complete Streets elements that best align with the Safe System approach focus on safe roads, which is designing streets to protect all users, especially vulnerable road users, and safe speeds, which is implementing traffic calming and setting appropriate speed limits to reduce crash severity. These elements work together to create safer, more accessible streets for everyone. In New Jersey, all 3 metropolitan planning organizations and all 21 New Jersey counties are actively developing comprehensive safety action plans in line with the Safe System approach. So where do you come in? Public input is crucial in creating these strong safety action plans, and there's opportunities for you to participate. What's the connection with safety action plans and Complete Streets? When reviewing federal requirements for safety action plan components, it's clear they align with our model policy language, including adopting goal vision statements of 0 roadway fatalities, creating a committee to provide oversight, assessing current policies and practices in master plans, comprehensive plans, and other plans to provide consistency, and measuring progress and transparency with benchmarks. So we're about to wrap up the presentation, but I want to stress it's important to remember that roadway safety is truly a matter of life and death. To reach 0, we must integrate safety into every aspect of our work, prioritizing human safety over convenience. Using the Safe System approach means accommodating human error and minimizing injury risk. Think about how a Safe System approach could foster collaboration with agencies like emergency medical services, public health, and operational safety. What might a Safe System lens look like for an upcoming project or plan in your town? Okay, so I'd like to sum up my 3 takeaways, and if nothing else, if you could just remember these 3 takeaways from today's presentation. So first, create a vision of 0 roadway deaths. Second, adopt a stronger complete and green streets policy that includes accountability and transparency. And third, integrate that safety is not siloed. Safety is the collective responsibility of multiple stakeholders. Okay, at this point, I'm going to turn over the presentation to Peter Bilton from the North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority. Thank you, Peter.
So thanks. Thanks, Leanne. Thank you to Elise. So, I mean, what's next? What's next after our webinar today? Well, we're excited to invite you to a virtual open house on crafting an effective complete and green streets policy. This is going to be a live Q&A session to discuss and troubleshoot policy adoption and how to design safer, greener, and more accessible streets for your community. So come with your specific questions about complete streets policy elements, including safe street design, navigating policy and ordinance adoption, and funding your projects. You can log in anytime between 3 and 5 p.m. on Wednesday, October 30th to access the open house at your convenience. There's no need to stay the full 2 hours, and registration is free. Scan the QR code or visit the website to register. The open house is sponsored by NJDOT with support from the North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority. In addition, when you register for the open house, you'll find other helpful resources, including information about Complete and Green Street's sustainable Jersey points, how to contact your regional transportation management association for technical assistance, NJDOT's Complete Streets and School Zone design guides, and information on the Complete Streets technical assistance and other bicycle and pedestrian grants and technical assistance from the New Jersey Department of Transportation and New Jersey's 3 metropolitan planning organizations. Finally, I wanted to let you know that county safety action plans, as Leanna discussed, they're essential for addressing local safety issues. And right now, the North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority is currently in the process of creating plans for 8 of our northern New Jersey counties. So I want to invite you, if you live in one of these counties or work in one of these counties, to get engaged by taking an online survey or attending an upcoming in-person event or demonstration project. Find more information at www.safetyplansnj.com. These plans are ongoing and are going to be completed in June. And as part of the partnership between the Safe Streets and Roads for All and the funding from the federal government, as well as the metropolitan planning organizations, every county in New Jersey will have a safety action plan. Now I'd like to turn it back over to Elise.
Okay, thank you, Peter. So thank you all for your attention today. If you have questions or need further information, please put them in the chat. We've been trying to answer some questions. I see there's questions about where these documents can be found, the model policy and the editable Word documents. It's up on the website of the New Jersey Department of Transportation, under engineering, under Complete Streets, and it's an entire page of resources. We can give you that link. It's got the model policy and guide, document, the Word documents. It's got our Complete Streets design guide up there as well. Please reach out to any of us if you have further questions, and you can come to the open house on October 30th as well. And I hope you will register for that today. That's really where you're going to hear a lot more about things like green streets and equity. Thank you to everybody, Leanne, James, Peter, for presenting today. And thank you very much to Ann Heasley and Sustainable Jersey for hosting this webinar. With our remaining time, we will take additional questions in chat if there are some there.
We do have some questions in the question, not in the chat, but one is the open house appropriate for those in communities in other states? I think our focus is going to be on New Jersey, but I'll let Leanne or Peter jump in here.
I mean, you're welcome to join us. We'll do our best. We know New Jersey best.
Yeah,
we're from Jersey, and you're not. Sorry.
And Greg answered a question about Union County because it wasn't on the list, but he did provide a link where Union County information can be found. How do I get my municipality to create a complete streets policy or implement it when it is very resistant to doing so? Her favorite question.
Yeah. And this is where the open house will come in a little bit more. We plan to have some other, not just us, but some other experts and community specialists involved as well. You know, we know one thing that tends to work in New Jersey is if your neighbor's doing it and you're not, and your neighbor's been successful, and it's a good thing to point to, you know, a similar town or neighbor to share with your town to say, but, you know, look what they did next door or, you know, 3 towns away. We'd like to see more of that here. So we can provide a little bit more of those success stories in the open house and share with you, you know, especially if you know in your town what the resistance is, because we are a diverse state. You know, we got urban, suburban, rural. The resistance is different depending on where you are in the state. And that's why we wanted to have an open house, to have more of a discussion to say, you know, what are the sticking points that seem to be the holdup? And maybe we can work through either providing resources to you, either in people or other guides, and other ways to address maybe getting over some of those speed humps, pun intended.
Well, and Complete Streets is different in different types of towns. In your rural communities, you know, if you've got neighborhoods with speed limits of 25 miles an hour, perhaps, I know there was a lot of concern when we first developed all of this by people saying, you're going to put sidewalks everywhere, and I live in farm country, and that's not true. It's very much context driven and it's need driven. So it's going to be based on what you in your communities see as the important needs of your town and township. We can offer, that's why we offer this guide that has Word documents that you can edit yourself for your own particular needs. So Complete Streets is different for each town and township. Complete Streets policies will be different for each town and township, but we want to help you make the best policy that you can and implement it for your town or township.
One of the nice things about the Complete Streets having, you know, a whole range of benefits is that you can identify which kind of community benefit is most important to your audience, right? So your top issue might be, you know, children walking safely to school, but some of your neighbors' top issue might be like the economic health of your downtown. Well, both of those things could benefit from implementing a Complete Streets policy, making the streets more inviting and safer for people to walk and bike, for example, or to use transit. So being able to kind of craft your message and talk about the multiple benefits can be beneficial to kind of get people interested. Another thing, you know, is that it can make you more competitive for grants, and not just in the small boost it gives you on the grant application, although that is important, but the getting everyone on the same page and thinking that's involved in having a policy and saying this is making a statement about this is what we want can create a better grant application that is more likely to get funded. You know, municipalities will apply for grant applications just because it's out there without having thought through what they really want to do, what they're trying to achieve. And the reviewers, you know, they know that they're looking for applications that show a community vision, that the town is clearly going towards a community benefit and really wants that. So that's another, I think that's another thing that you can help to sell Complete Streets policies.
Those are all great answers. I have another question here. Is it better for a pedestrian group for a municipality to shape the policy before presenting to the council person, or do it directly with the council person?
Either could work, but you know, council folks are pretty busy. So if you want to present a crafted policy and you're willing to take on some of that work, that could be a help for a lot of very busy staff at most municipalities in the state. Will they want to, you know, come back and ask you questions and ask you where they got the language? Of course. So it'll be a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, typically. But yeah, I think go ahead. I would get started. If you've got to energize folks to do it, that's an ideal situation. And then, you know, find your supportive council person or staff at your town and start talking with them about what it would look like.
All right, that's great. And we got some thanks from Lacey. And then Greg was able to answer a question about Monmouth County and their safety action plan. We reposted the link for the October 30th webinar and information about SS4A continuing. Can you share the final chat content with the links for all attendees?
We could probably put those on our website.
Yeah.
The website that you may have used to register is where we're going to put this recording and some other resources, so that's a good idea. We can enhance our website, and that's probably been in chat, but it's our njbikeped.org under the Complete Streets tab.
Yeah. And then what data do we need, can we gather to support these efforts, or do we rely heavily on traffic studies?
Data's a tough one, and but you know, hey, Rutgers here, we live in data. So yeah, there is, I'm sure if you're asking about traffic studies, you've probably dealt with a developer coming and they want to do these traffic studies. That's all well and good, but usually traffic studies are very localized about that particular development that's going in and not necessarily town-wide data. So there are a number of really great websites now for looking into all sorts of data that could be helpful. We debated whether to go into some of the mapping resources that are available, and maybe we'll add that into our October 30th discussion, is to share some more resources on websites, because New Jersey TPA, NJTPA has some great mapping websites on things like bicycle level of comfort. Our other MPOs also have similar mapping, like Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission has level of bicycle stress, and several of our state agencies and the 3 MPOs also have mapping on equity and where you should be looking to prioritize, whether it's low income or limited English proficiency or some of the other elements around equity. Plus, our Department of Environmental Protection has an environmental justice mapping. So it's a little confusing sometimes, because actually there are so many resources, it's hard to know which one do I use, which one do I not use, or you know, what's, can you give me one that kind of covers everything? And the answer is not exactly. But if you indulge me for a moment to highlight a Rutgers resource that you might not be aware of, is called New Jersey Adapt Mapping. And that has, through the Rutgers New Jersey Climate Change Resource Center, this New Jersey Adapt Mapping tool has been used to kind of collect some of the other resources, like the DEP's environmental justice mapping and some of the other federal mapping that includes social determinants of health and some of the other like very equity strategy kind of looking mapping, overlaying it with flood mapping, overlaying it with some land use mapping. So I tend to use New Jersey Adapt first as my go-to map when I'm looking at a town to take a look at equity impacts. I find it's pretty easy to use, and there's a short tutorial when you go to the website that shows you where to find different base layers to click on and off. But you know, if this is an interest, maybe we should be doing a webinar on the mapping resources and how to find data. So happy to take that topic on too.
And I don't know how, you know, how involved you want to get, but sometimes it's just as simple as, I mean, yes, you have traffic data, you have speed limits, you have speed studies that show how fast people are actually going, you have traffic volumes, traffic counts, but you should also, you can do your own counts of pedestrians and bicyclists in an area. A downtown area may have, you know, if you survey the businesses, they may know what the percentage of their business customers are arriving on foot or by bike. You can survey, you can do parking surveys to see what the turnover is in parking. You know, are delivery vehicles having difficulty getting their, you know, unloading their goods to certain businesses? And talk to your crossing guards, get data about what's going on in your school zones in the morning and afternoons. They know what happens, they know the near misses, they can tell you if there's a speeding problem, if there's a failure to yield problem. You can collect simple data like that as well. And photographs are always helpful, photographs and videos. So your data doesn't always have to come from one of those big sources.
Yeah, and don't overplay the data. data is always going to have a level of imperfect to it. Like Elise said, crossing guards are out on the forefront every day, and they're going to tell you multiple stories of near misses and the behavior of motorists or others. So, take a look at where your greatest needs are. Maybe it's with safe routes to school and making sure your school zones are safe for children and those who work in the school zones to travel by foot and bike safely, or other wheeled devices. Take a look at where your more vulnerable populations are. Do you have a higher level of seniors? A lot of times when you talk to people, if they've lived in their town, they kind of know where the seniors are living, or maybe there's a senior center that a lot of people walk to. Maybe that should be a priority area. So it doesn't have to be solely the data. I know we like to make data-driven decisions, absolutely, but talking to people around town about what their concerns are and which intersections they find the most difficult, that's data too. You can use people's personal stories to identify areas that need looking at closer for making it safer to walk and bike or take transit.
Okay. So another question about one of the county plans, but I think that's been answered. A question about, will the safety action plan force Bergen County to start designing county roads differently, i.e. for users other than cars? I mean, I think it's an opportunity for, as Peter mentioned, for people to come together and come to a consensus about what the roadways should be used for and how. So I think, engaging in those plans is a really important opportunity for people. Does anybody else want to add to that? All right, moving on. Yeah.
Well, as someone who's married to a county traffic engineer, yeah, how to answer this? It's not going to force agencies to do things, but this is all part of the planning process, which is really important to developing your projects. And once they, engineering and planning staffs hear people's concerns about complete streets and start to work on these safety action plans, then the prioritization of certain projects will start to change. It will happen. There are some counties who've been doing this for a while, and others are maybe playing a little catch up, but I think especially with the Safe Streets and Roads for All grants and these safety action plans, I don't think there's an engineering department at the county or state level that doesn't know about this. And I think it's really helping the Complete Streets cause that we have USDOT stepping up with this grant program.
Yes. So a couple of questions really on how to get the county and state on board. This is an example in Lacey, but this often happens in other communities where, there's roadways that aren't controlled by the municipality.
Yes. I think that's also the importance of having a complete streets policy in your town, is that when the county or the state come in and are doing a project on one of their roadways in your municipality, then there is something the town can hang their hat on and say, we have a complete streets policy. This is the kind of thing that we want in this area. And it's easier for them to vocalize all these needs when they start to work with the state and county on these roadway improvements. It's something that's already in place. It's a need, it's a desire that's already been voiced and put into writing. It should make it easier to work with the state and the county on these projects.
It also shows, maybe lack for a better word, some good faith on the municipal side that Complete Streets is more than just about the roads, it's about the land use. And very
good point. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mentioned looking, even if you can't have a complete streets policy, incorporating some of these elements into master planning processes, which really is your looking at your land use, your future land use. Because it's important for the state and the counties to know what land use is being planned or not being planned for certain areas, so they can make also decisions about the road right away that they own. So
and it's also important, like you said, the checklists get used in the planning board review for site plans when developers come in and want to build things in certain areas or rebuild things in certain areas. DOT is currently, my unit just used to do reviews of capital projects in the department. We started doing reviews of projects that are funded by local aid grants. Now we're also doing reviews of development permit applications to our state highway system. If you're going to build it on our roadway, then we need you to work with us and put in complete streets elements as well. I think in most cases, the ones with the power to make those decisions, to make those requests of developers are the local planning and zoning boards. So, you know, the complete streets policy, and if you incorporate it into your review process, that definitely shows a good faith effort on your part and working on the land use and requiring the developers to do the same thing that you want the state and the county to be doing.
That's great. All right, so what are some negative connotations to complete streets? I can't think of any.
I mean, so we're saying the words complete streets. We also are talking about complete and green streets. And Anne, you can jump in anytime. Anne is one of our stormwater management experts in the state. And the rules and regs around stormwater management have changed recently and will be changing again in the future, so I'm told. And when we look at green streets, they do an amazing job of stormwater management if installed correctly. They do require a level of maintenance. And currently the reality is a lot of maintenance falls on the municipality and the municipal budgets. And so although there's ways around it, I mean, a lot of towns have DPWs. It often, this is why when I say safety is not siloed, you know, what are the impacts on your DPW is a major consideration. And if you talk to engineers and planners, sometimes they'll say things like, well, we were looking into that, but our DPW wasn't really trained in that. And so we're going to work towards something in the future, but it's not for something for this project right now.
Yeah, the Departments of Public Works, as well as the emergency services personnel, you know, can sometimes come to meetings and say, you know, whoa, these speed humps are going to slow down our response times when we're, you know, there's a crash or there's an emergency, our vehicles need to get through. You know, Public Works to say, you know, well, how do my snow plows get through traffic calming? There are ways to work around that. Definitely they should be a part of the conversation, because if they're not right up front, then you could have some negative discussions about complete streets. I think other groups that have had some difficulty with complete streets are the freight delivery companies. You know, complete streets should be for all roadway users, and that includes, you know, trucks and vans who are delivering all the things that we're ordering on Amazon, and, you know, delivering things to businesses that need them. And if they can't have space on the curb in front of their business to deliver, then maybe, you know, we need to work with them to figure out a better place for them to load and unload. It all kind of ties together. But if you bring in all the different groups that are concerned with using the streets, the roadway network and the walkways and the trail networks in an area right from the get-go, then there's much more chance that you can work together with them and come up with a solution that works for everybody.
Yeah, because we see, unfortunately, freight delivery drivers having to cross very busy roads to deliver packages in places, you know, that don't have accommodations for them. So the safety is for everybody. And same goes with emergency management services. You know, if you look at a lot of towns' emergency management logs, it's for car crashes where there's, you know, significant injury. And so reducing speeds and making it safer for people both outside of vehicles and inside of vehicles can reduce the number.
Likelihood of those crashes in the first place. Yes.
Right. So it is helpful to bring as many people to the table, at the beginning. And it's hard, it really is, but those towns that have been successful have shown that they have been able to mitigate unintended consequences down the line.
All right, one of our questions is on grant funding programs to help municipality develop complete streets. And I'm just going to jump in and say, please come to the open house, because that is a big topic of conversation. You've heard about SS4A. We know that the partners here are involved in the Complete Streets technical assistance. There's lots of different ways to help support municipalities in this work. And we can talk about that on the 30th, or reach out and send us an email. You have our contacts if you have a specific question.
Yeah. And we will, it's looking pretty good that sometime this fall we'll be doing some more webinars on the Transportation Alternative Set Aside grant program that Department of Transportation offers. So if you haven't already, you can subscribe to the New Jersey Bicycle and Pedestrian Resource Center or the Safe Routes Resource Center's newsletters, and we'll be putting we always put upcoming funding opportunities in those newsletters.
Oh yeah, and in the chat, Elise put in the NJDOT Local Aid Resource Center, which is a good first place to go. From Somerset, I think he's saying one list with these recommended resources put up on the BPAC website would be very helpful. I'm not sure if he's talking about those resources for data that we were talking about, because I think otherwise we do have a link that we've provided for resources for this webinar. So
I keep thinking that we need to have a new little data link, tab on our website. So thanks for that feedback about data and where to find it. I do a separate class on health and all policies, and we spend quite a bit on finding data, and so I have list upon list of really great websites to find different types of data. So we'll look into.
That's a good idea. Putting a data link.
And Ken also points out that municipal traffic safety officers are a wealth of local traffic knowledge, which is also very true. And Kathleen Calva said that tree equity score is a part of the Complete Street policies. She likes to look at that data, which you're not going to get any argument from me. Love that, Kathleen. That's an important part of the roadway. Let's see.
And there's one that I think that's a good one for you to mention about, are there events for mayors or councils who have questions about policies?
Oh, I missed that one. Yes, we have a session at the League of Municipalities. Oh, now I'm not going to remember which day. It's either Tuesday afternoon, the first day of the League conference, where we'll have local representatives that will talk about complete streets and how to implement them at the local level, and some of the issues that some of the things that have worked, and provide their lived experience in this world. So if you have an elected official that attends the League and is going to be there on that first Tuesday, if you just go to the League website and look at the program, and I think it's I can't remember. I'll try to look at the title and put it in here, but definitely has the word streets in it or roadways or something. So you can find it there. Something, the cost was the rationale for Wisconsin being the only state to repeal its complete street statute. Oh, interesting.
There's also a question about support systems to assist towns that are apprehensive about applying for federal grants.
Ooh. Yeah.
And there are, but it sort of depends on which part they're apprehensive about. Like, believe me, we know that federal grants are its own level of effort. And you don't go after a federal grant unless it's a project that's, let's say, at the very least, 350,000 or more. And a lot of towns won't touch it for under 500,000 for federal grants. Federal grants take a lot of labor. So we can talk about that more at the open house. There are some resources. If you haven't already, Peter mentioned reaching out to your local transportation management association. There are 8 in New Jersey that cover the state. They can help to an extent, but a lot of what my understanding is, a lot of towns, why they're apprehensive is because of what the administrative requirements and the designated person of responsible charge. That is something that's a federal requirement. So there's been discussions around that because we know it's an issue in New Jersey, that there's a lot of towns that really just, they either don't have full-time staff, where if they do have full-time staff, the staff really isn't able to take on a federal grant. So I also recommend, depending on where you are, also reach out to your local metropolitan planning organization. If you're in Peter Bilton's territory at NJTPA, reach out to Peter Bilton and start a conversation with your local MPO about what you would like to apply for, to see if there might be other grants that aren't federal, or if there's other ways to get some more assistance.
All right, so we got through most of the questions, and we might need to post a different link for the Word doc. I'm not sure if we got that correct, but I think we hope people attend the open house. So, but after we sign off today, there's going to be a quick evaluation survey. We hope that we beg, hope, pray that you respond to that. And just thank you, Peter, Leanne, James, and Elise. Anything else we want to say for the good of the order?
See you on the 30th?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for your time and great questions.
All right. No, thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Thanks.